If you want to know what liquid happiness smells like, Louis Vuitton's Afternoon Swim is exactly it. This is not just a fragrance, this is a cultural flex. Afternoon Swim became a cult status summer staple almost instantly because it delivers one of the most addictive, realistic citrus openings in all of the designer perfumery. The perfumer himself famously described it as a literal shot of vitamin C, and the moment you smell it, you understand exactly why collectors are willing to empty their wallets just to keep this bottle in a heavy rotation. But here is the inherent problem of this masterpiece. If you love the bright, juicy, mouth-watering profile, but you absolutely do not want to spend $360 on a fragrance that is known for being beautiful, but not exactly eternal, stay with me. Today we are examining 14 heavy-hitting clones and inspired by fragrances to see if any of them can genuinely give us that luxurious afternoon swim experience for a fraction of the price. Before we get into alternatives, we must understand the architecture of the original Louis Vuitton Afternoon Swim because it sets the gold standard. The opening is a massive, hyper-realistic blast of rare Sicilian orange, and this is not your typical harsh synthetic citrus. This is a juicy, bitter, sweet, sparkling, and incredibly natural all at once. That signature orange is immediately supported by a crisp, sharp Calabrian bergamot. Then, just when the scent threatens to become slightly too sweet, a zesty bite of ginger cuts right through the middle and gives the entire fragrance a fizzy, effervescent energy. But the real magic, an absolute secret weapon that helps these bright volatile citruses actually cling to the skin, is that heavy, oceanic dose of ambergris in the base. That ambergris gives the whole composition a slightly salty, skin-like warmth. It feels exactly like drying off under California sun after diving in Pacific Ocean. Now, let's get brutally honest about performance, because citrus-forward fragrances are notoriously fragile. On my skin, the original formulation gives me around 5 to 6 hours of clean longevity. For the first 2 hours, the projection is loud, bright, and attention-grabbing. It fills the space around you with the intoxicating, wealthy summer aura. After that, the bright orange begins to burn off, and the fragrance settles into a salty, musky, ambergris skin scent. And that makes sense. The fragrance is built around highly volatile, natural citrus oils. It is not designed to choke out the room for 12 hours, and was never meant to be that kind of a scent. It belongs at the upscale pool parties, rooftop brunches, resort vacations, and casual summer days when you want to smell effortlessly expensive. So does the afternoon swim justify the premium price tag? And more importantly, can any of these 14 alternatives actually replace it? Let's find out. If you love the hyper-realistic, mouth-watering citrus of Louis Vuitton Afternoon Swim, but you absolutely refuse to drop $360 on a fragrance that disappears in a few hours, you need to pay attention to Haramain Natural Iris. This is a Middle Eastern extrait de parfum built to take the same summer in a bottle DNA, crank up the concentration, and give you a premium, fresh citrus vibe without the luxury tax. The bottle is very beautiful. The opening hits you with a massive, vibrant blast of orange, mandarin, and bergamot. It's bright, juicy, and immediately attention-grabbing. As it dries down, the mid pushes forward a sharp, zesty grapefruit paired with a spicy ginger, keeping the citrus sparkling and energetic. Finally, the base settles into a clean, smooth combination of lily of the valley and musk. The base acts as a fixative, helping those volatile top notes stay attached to your skin. In the opening 5 minutes, this sits at a solid 90% closeness to afternoon swim. It captures that juicy, hyper-realistic orange energy extremely well, but once it starts projecting and moving into a dry down, the similarity drops to about 80%. Because this is an extrait de parfum, performance is staggering for this type of DNA. You can expect, realistically, a solid 7 to 8 hours on a skin which completely outperforms the original inspiration. Now, it's called Natural Iris, but there's actually zero iris in a note breakdown. Instead, the house uses lily of the valley and musk to create a delicate, powdery floral freshness in the air, giving the fragrance iris-like sophistication. The price-to-value ratio is fantastic. The extrait presentation feels robust. The citrus opening is surprisingly high quality without ever smelling like synthetic floor cleaner. Now, if you're a purist looking for the same exact salty oceanic dry down of the original Louis Vuitton, you will notice that the ambergris magic is completely missing. Now, the original Afternoon Swim relies heavily on a rare Sicilian orange and the oceanic ambergris base. Haramain completely removes the ambergris. Instead, it adds tart grapefruit in the mid and builds the base on lily of the valley and musk. That means Afternoon Swim gives you a salty skin-like warmth, while natural iris dries down noticeably cleaner, soapier, and far more floral. This is an absolute weapon for spring and summer. It thrives in high heat. This is a casual, warm weather flex. If you want a long-lasting, hyper-fresh citrus and musk fragrance that punches way above its price tag, this is an incredibly safe blind buy. But if you are expecting a one-to-one identical clone that perfectly captures the salty ambergris magic of the Afternoon Swim, this is a try before you buy fragrance. In a drawdown, it tells its own floral story. Next, we are looking at the ASTEN Luxe Vision Morning Swim. This is a highly sought-after release built to replicate mouth-watering summer in a bottle energy, but with a unique twist that completely changes the game. The opening hits immediately with a bright, zesty splash of orange, bergamot, and mandarin. As we move into the heart, things get far more interesting. The fragrance introduces spicy ginger, smooth neroli, and an unexpected, creamy coconut milk note. Finally, the base settles into a clean foundation of ambrox and musk, which locks the volatile citrus notes onto your skin. In the opening 5 minutes, this sits at about 85% closeness to the original inspiration. However, once it pushes into the air and reaches the dry down, that similarity drops to around 70%. When it comes to performance, you can realistically expect around 5 hours of presence on skin, which is on par with the original designer formulation. The secret weapon here is absolutely that creamy coconut milk and neroli accord in the mid. It takes what is a usually sharp citrus profile and gives it a smooth, tropical sunscreen vibe. It feels like a luxurious day at the high-end beach club. The price-to-value ratio is excellent, and the coconut milk note makes this one unique and smooth for a summer freshie without ever smelling synthetic. Again, if you're a purist expecting a perfect replica of the sharp marine-heavy Louis Vuitton masterpiece, you will be deeply disappointed. This DNA moves into a creamier, softer direction. ASTEN Luxe Vision Morning Swim removes the natural ambergris entirely and substitutes it with the ambrox and musk. Then it injects neroli and coconut milk in the heart. While the original stays crisp and salty, and Morning Swim dries down creamier, softer, and much more tropical. If you want affordable summer citrus with a creamy tropical twist, this is a phenomenal pickup. But if you are strictly looking for identical replacement for the solid ambergris magic, this will not satisfy that craving. If you want that ultra-premium, sun-drenched aesthetic without emptying your wallet, Armaf Odyssey is a serious contender. This fragrance is engineered to give you the bright energy of Afternoon Swim, but it adds a unique aquatic and tea-infused twist. The opening is an immediate zesty explosion of lemon, sweet orange, mandarin, and bergamot. It's sparkling, sharp, and undeniably vibrant. As it transitions into the heart, it introduces a dynamic kick of ginger, softened by orange blossoms, and a distinct rush of marine notes. Finally, the base settles into an airy foundation of tea, musk, and amber. In the opening 5 minutes, Odyssey Limoni sits at about 80% closeness to Afternoon Swim. However, once it pushes into the air, the similarity drops significantly to around 60%. On skin, you can expect around 4 to 5 hours of moderate presence before it becomes an intimate skin scent. The inclusion of tea and marine notes in Limoni is what separates Limoni from the pack. It takes a straightforward, juicy citrus splash and gives it a soothing iced tea by the ocean vibe. In the high heat, that makes it incredibly refreshing. The value and mass versatility are off the charts. This is an uplifting, widely appealing citrus bomb that smells fantastic in the air. The opening can feel a bit synthetic for the first 5 minutes before it settles. Furthermore, the prominent tea notes mean that the purist searching for an exact Afternoon Swim clone will feel like they got a hybrid instead of a replica. Afternoon Swim relies heavily on a massive dose of skin-like ambergris to keep it warm, salty, and relentlessly citrus forward. Armaf Odyssey Limoni changes the trajectory completely by replacing the heavy ambergris with lighter musk and amber, and then injecting tea and marine notes into the heart and base. Limoni cools the whole fragrance down. It trades the warm California sun for a chilled aquatic iced tea freshness. If you want affordable summer hybrid that mixes bright citrus with a soothing tea and aquatic dry down, this is a fantastic buy. Next, we are looking at Bujairami Perfect Life. This is an Australian-born release engineered to capture the bright, mouth-watering vitamin C energy of the afternoon swim while staying strictly budget-friendly. The opening hits immediately with a bright, juicy blast of mandarin. As it transitions into the heart, it introduces a tangy blend of orange and bergamot, keeping the citrus crisp and vibrant. Finally, the base settles into a spicy ginger and marine ambergris, which acts as a core fixative, locking the nose onto the skin. In the opening 5 minutes, this sits at a highly impressive 90% closeness to Louis Vuitton. You get almost an identical blast of photorealistic citrus. As it moves into the air, the similarity drops only slightly to around 85%. You can expect a reliable 5 to 6 hours of moderate presence on your skin. The standout feature here is how smooth the blending is right out of the bottle. A lot of budget freshes hit you with a synthetic alcohol blast in the first few minutes. Perfect Life does not. It feels round, juicy, and premium from the first spray. The price-value ratio is excellent, and it delivers uplifting, mass-appealing citrus bomb that smells fantastic in high heat without any chemical harshness. Because it relies more heavily on a mandarin and sharper ginger in a base, purists looking for the exact deep salty ambergris magic of the original might find the dry down slightly flatter by comparison. Afternoon Swim relies on a rare Sicilian orange and a massive natural feeling ambergris base. Perfect Life shifts the balance by pushing sweeter mandarin into the top and relying on a sharper ginger and more modern ambergris according the base. As a result, Perfect Life feels a little more tart and spicy in the late stages, replacing the deep oceanic muskiness with a bright, zesty bite. If you want a highly affordable, refreshing summer citrus that captures the vibrant energy of the original without the devastating price tag, this is a phenomenal blind buy, safe pickup. Next, we are looking at Bujairami Drip, an extrait de parfum from the same house engineered to deliver the bright vitamin C energy while taking the radically minimalist approach. The opening hits instantly with a brilliant, juicy blast of mandarin. As the fragrance transitions into the heart, the mandarin is joined by a warm, sun-kissed orange which rounds out the sweetness. Then comes the unconventional twist. The base settles strictly into bergamot. In the opening 5 minutes, this sits at an impressive 90% closeness to the afternoon swim. But once it pushes into the air, the similarity drops to around 80% due to lack of the salty ambergris and spicy ginger. Even with its minimalist approach, the extrait concentration provides a solid 5 to 6 hours of moderate projection. The interesting fact here is inverted pyramid structure. By using bergamot, which is traditionally a highly volatile top note as a foundational base, Bujairami Drip stays a pure citrus experience from the first spray to the final dry down. It never turns musky, woody, or heavy. A pure citrus extrait de parfum that lasts without smelling like a synthetic cleaning product is extremely rare, making this an incredible value. Because it's so incredibly minimalist, purists looking for an ocean-like depth and complexity of the Louis Vuitton dry down will find this far too linear and one-dimensional. It is a strictly minimalist trio of mandarin, orange, and bergamot. It trades the oceanic luxury for a clean, literal glass of freshly squeezed juice. If you want long-lasting pure citrus bomb that avoids all musk and woods, this dominates in its lane. Next, we have a serious heavyweight contender, French Avenue, Pinnace Oryn. This is a highly anticipated 2025 release engineered to capture bright, sun-drenched energy of the designer masterpiece. The opening hits immediately with a sparkling, vibrant burst of bergamot, mandarin, and orange. As we move into the heart, a prominent spicy ginger pushes forward, giving the citrus a dynamic, energetic kick. Finally, the base settles into a dual-layered foundation of amber and ambergris. Now, the battle is silly, but in the opening 5 minutes, Pinnace Oryn sits at highly impressive 90% closeness, delivering an almost identical blast of photorealistic orange and ginger. Once it hit the dry down, the similarity drops to around 80%. On skin, you can realistically expect 4 to 5 hours of moderate presence. The dry down is where this clone shines in its own way instead of relying only on ambergris. Pinnace Oryn adds dedicated amber to the base, giving the late stages a warmer, more resinous depth. The price to value ratio is exceptional, and it delivers an uplifting, mass-appealing citrus blast that follows the luxury DNA incredibly closely in the first hour. Now, because it introduces traditional amber into the base, purists looking for exact unfiltered salty oceanic warmth of the original will notice that this feels denser and sweeter in a dry down. Now, Pinnace Oryn uses a very similar top and mid structure to the original, but by adding traditional amber to the ambergris, it trades the purely salty California ocean breeze for a dry down that is warmer, denser, and slightly more resinous. If you want a highly affordable, refreshing fragrance that captures the exact citrus and ginger opening of Afternoon Swim, but finishes with a uniquely warmer amber depth, this is a phenomenal pickup, if you can live with the bottle. Next, we are breaking down Grandeur Elite Soaked Sun Exclusive, an affordable Middle Eastern release engineered to capture the same mouth-watering summer in a bottle energy. The opening hits instantly with a vibrant, hyper-refreshing blast of bergamot, lemon, mandarin, and grapefruit. As it transitions into a heart, a spicy ginger cake comes forward, smoothed out by neroli and soft touch of lily of the valley. Finally, the base settles into sandalwood, mate tea, musk, and amber. In the first 10 minutes, this sits at a solid 85% closeness, delivering a remarkably similar citrus blast. However, the dry down, the similarity drops sharply to around 70%. Performance is modest. Expect around 3 to 4 hours of moderate presence before it becomes a very intimate skin scent. The standout feature here is the opening fizz. This fragrance manages to recreate the effervescent soda-like sparkle of the original perfectly. The grapefruit and ginger make it feel like a freshly opened icy can of citrus soda, popping under your nose. It gives you one of the most uplifting, effervescent citrus openings you can find for the money without smelling like a harsh floor cleaner. It relies on a softer musks, mate tea, and sandalwood, instead of a heavy ambergris, making the dry down feel much flatter and more linear. The performance also leaves a lot to be desired. Grandeur Soaked Sun differs from the original by completely changing trajectory. By substituting the ambergris with mate tea, musk, and sandalwood, it trades the warm, oceanic luxury of the original for a cleaner, slightly herbal, and woody freshness. It cools the scent down rather than warming it up. If you want a highly affordable, effervescent fragrance that perfectly captures the uplifting top notes of Afternoon Swim, this is a fantastic blind buy. However, it lacks the ambergris depth, and performance compared to the original is actually worse. Next, we are looking at Lattafa Pisa from Premium Lattafa Pride Collection. This is a assertive release engineered to capture the bright energy of a luxury summer citrus, but it takes a distinctly woody turn. The opening hits instantly with a brilliant, juicy explosion of bergamot, mandarin, and lemon. As the citrus begins to settle, the heart pushes forward a smooth, prominent cedar wood that immediately grounds the fragrance. Finally, the base transitions into a warm, confident foundation of sandalwood and amber. In terms of clone accuracy, this is far from the one-to-one replica. It sits at about 85 closeness in the opening, but drops significantly to about 65% in a dry down. However, performance is where Lattafa Pisa absolutely separates itself from the pack. On skin, you can realistically expect a massive 7 to 8 hours of strong presence. The price to value ratio is phenomenal, the performance is monstrous for a freshie, and the rich woody base give a fragrance a level of versatility that pure citrus scents often lack. Now, if you're expecting an identical clone to the airy marine heavy afternoon swim masterpiece, you'll be highly disappointed. Afternoon Swim relies on ginger and oceanic ambergris to keep the composition warm, salty, and citrus forward. Lattafa Pisa takes a completely different route by stripping out the ginger and ambergris and injecting a dominant core of ciderwood and sandalwood into the mid and base. Pisa trades the salty California ocean breeze for a warmer, much more traditional woody citrus profile. If you want an incredibly long-lasting, affordable summer fragrance with a sophisticated cedar and amber base, this is phenomenal, but it proudly walks its own path rather than purely cloning the LV original. Next is Maison Alhambra Jean Lowe Azure. This is a highly sought-after release, engineered to capture the bright, sun-drenched vitamin C energy of the designer inspiration. The opening hits instantly with a sparkling fusion of bergamot and mandarin. As that citrus burst breathes, the heart pushes forward sweet, juicy orange. Finally, the base settles deeply into ginger and ambergris, which act as an anchor, locking the volatile citrus notes to the skin. In the opening 5 minutes, Jean Lowe Azure sits at solid 85% closeness to the original. Once it reaches the dry down, the similarity drops slightly to around 80%. On skin, you can expect around 4 to 5 hours of moderate presence before it becomes a skin scent. The standout element here is how Maison Alhambra restructured the notes. By shifting the spicy ginger entirely into the base alongside the ambergris, the fragrance keeps a warm, zesty spice alive longer after the initial citrus blast fades. The heavy glass bottle presentation punches way above its price point, and it delivers a mass-appealing citrus bomb without ever smelling synthetic. This is one of my preferred choices. Now, if you're a purist expecting the exact three-dimensional salty depth of Louis Vuitton ambergris, this base feels noticeably sharper and more ginger-heavy. The original Afternoon Swim places its ginger directly in the top and mid to create an immediate sparkling bite while anchoring the base exclusively with the ambergris. Jean Lowe shifts this balance entirely by dropping the ginger down into the base notes. The clone trades the purely salty California ocean breeze for a dry down that feels noticeably warmer, spicier, and slightly denser. If you want an affordable summer fragrance with a uniquely spicier ginger kick, this is a great pickup. However, you are strictly hunting for identical salty ambergris depth of the original, it leans a bit too spicy. It's still my favorite. Next, we are looking at Lucianno Sunset Swim. This is a straight de Parfum engineered to capture the legendary sun-drenched energy, but it brings a creamy tropical twist that changes the game. The opening hits instantly with an invigorating burst of orange, bergamot, and mandarin. As it transitions into the heart, spicy ginger pushes forward, smoothed out by neroli and an expected creamy coconut milk accord. Finally, the base settles into ambrox and musk. In the first 10 minutes, this sits at a solid 85% closeness to the original. But once it reaches the dry down, the similarity drops to around 75%. On skin, you can expect around 4 to 6 hours of moderate presence. The absolute X factor here is that creamy coconut milk and neroli accord in the mid. It takes the traditionally sharp, linear citrus profile and gives it a smooth tropical sunscreen vibe, almost like spending the day at Luxury Beach Club. It offers an incredibly smooth, luxurious sunscreen aesthetic, without a massive price tag. Because it deviates heavily from the core DNA, it acts more like a tropical flanker than a pure one-to-one replica. Afternoon Swim relies on oceanic ambergris for salty warmth. Sunset Swim completely changes the trajectory in the mid and base, replacing the ambergris with ambrox and musk, and injecting coconut milk and neroli into the heart. It trades the warm oceanic luxury of the original for a softer, slightly more tropical and woody freshness. It smooths the scent out rather than giving it a salty marine bite. If you want an affordable, effervescent fragrance that adds a smooth, creamy coconut twist, this is a fantastic blind buy. Next, we are looking at Maison Asrar, the Flame Collection DXB. This is a bold modern release named after the fast-paced energy of Dubai. The opening hits instantly with a razor-sharp burst of orange, mandarin, and bergamot. As it transitions into the heart, crisp, slightly bitter grapefruit pushes forward alongside lively ginger. Finally, the base settles into lily of the valley and musk. In the first 10 minutes, this sits at a solid 85% closeness to afternoon swim. However, as it reaches the dry down, the similarity drops to around 70%. On skin, you can realistically expect around 5 to 6 hours of moderate presence. The X factor here is the lily of the valley in a dry down. Instead of trying to imitate a heavy, salty ocean breeze, Maison Asrar pivots into a soft white floral and musk combination, giving it a highly refined texture. Now, the bold architectural presentation is fantastic, and the opening is highly uplifting, modern, and clean. Now, the bed. The grapefruit and ginger can introduce a slightly sharp, bitter edge on a certain skin chemistries, and the lack of ambergris is highly noticeable. Afternoon Swim utilizes a massive dose of natural-feeling ambergris for a sun-drenched warmth. Maison Asrar DXB completely changes this trajectory by substituting the ambergris with musk and lily of the valley and injecting tart grapefruit into the heart. It trades the warm oceanic luxury of the original for a much cleaner, soapier, and slightly more floral freshness. It cools the scent down rather than warming it up. If you want a fragrance that finishes with a unique, clean, musky floral twist, this is fantastic. Next, we are looking at Montagne Parfums Afternoon Dive. This is a highly anticipated, masterfully blended release, and many in the community argue that it actually outperforms the original design masterpiece. The opening hits instantly with a hyper-realistic of mandarin orange, Italian orange, and bergamot. As the citrus begins to breathe, the heart pushes forward spicy ginger, energizing the composition. Finally, the base transitions into a heavy blend of musks and ambergris. In the opening 5 minutes, this sits at highly impressive 95% closeness to Louis Vuitton Afternoon Swim. As it reaches the dry down, the similarity drops only slightly to around 85% to 90%. Performance is stellar for the freshie. Expect a solid 5 to 6 hours on a skin and easily pass the 8-hour mark on clothes. The X factor here is how Montagne amplifies the opening. It feels like you are literally peeling a cold, juicy mandarin orange directly on the beach. It takes a fleeting citrus profile and it gives a genuine sun-warmed aquatic depth. It is arguably the best overall representation of the DNA on this list. It is masterfully blended and the ambergris grips fabric beautifully. Now, while the original leans into a crisp, dry ginger in the mid, Montagne pushes a sweeter, fuzzier blend of musk and aquatic ambergris accord in a base. This trades the straightforward, dry California ocean breeze for a warmer, slightly more relaxed, poolside leisure fantasy. If you want an incredibly long-lasting, affordable, more expensive than most of those per milliliter, summer fragrance that captures the bright top notes and finishes with a relaxed, salty aquatic twist, this is phenomenal, unmatched pickup. Next, we are looking at Paris Corner North Stack Expressions for Quatre. This is a beautifully presented release, engineered to capture the bright, sun-drenched energy of the designer inspiration. The opening hits instantly with a sparkling blast of pure mandarin orange. As it begins to breathe, the heart pushes forward deeper Sicilian orange paired with a crisp bergamot. Finally, in a distinct structural choice, the base settles entirely on ginger. In the opening 5 minutes, this sits at highly impressive 90% closeness, capturing that initial citrus burst beautifully. But once it reaches the dry down, the similarity drops significantly to around 80%. Even with extra concentration, performance is moderate, yielding around 4 to 5 hours on skin. The absolute standout here is the hyper-realistic juiciness of the mandarin opening. Instead of a harsh synthetic blast, it genuinely smells like peeling a ripe mandarin under the summer sun. The packaging is heavy, gift-worthy, and mandarin opening is staggering in its high-quality realism. Now, because it strips out the ambergris, it relies heavily on ginger. It can feel too linear and one-dimensional in the late dry down, lacking depth, oceanic complexity. Afternoon Swim uses ambergris to create a salty California ocean breeze. North Stack Expressions 4 Quarter removes ambergris completely and drops ginger into the base to act as a primary fixative. The clone trades a salty ocean breeze for a dry down that stayed relentlessly focused on a linear, spicy, zesty orange. If you want an affordable fragrance that perfectly captures the hyper-realistic mandarin top notes with uniquely zesty ginger kick, this is great. Finally, we are looking at Rayhaan Adonis Icarus. This is a highly anticipated 2025 release. Engineered to capture the bright vitamin C energy of Afternoon Swim, but it brings a boldly spicy, earthy twist to the table. The opening hits instantly with a sparkling explosion of orange, mandarin, and bergamot. As the citrus burst breathes, the heart introduces neroli, energizing ginger, and a modern kick of a pink pepper. Finally, the base settles into ambergris, clean white musk, and earthy vetiver. In the opening 5 minutes, this sits at an impressive 85 to 90% closeness to Afternoon Swim. However, once it reaches the dry down, the similarity drops heavily to around 75%. Performance, however, is massive. You can realistically expect 5 to 7 hours of strong presence on skin, easily pushing past 8 hours on clothes. The presentation is incredible. Rayhaan went out of the box with a strikingly sun orange bottle featuring intricate relief patterns with a heavy premium magnetic cap. The presentation punches way above its price point, and the performance separates entirely from the more fragile design and inspiration. Now the bed. The heavy white musk and a vetiver take over the late dry down, makes this feel too dense and heavy for wearers wanting a light, airy summer scent. Afternoon Swim relies heavily on a Sicilian orange and oceanic ambergris to keep the composition relentlessly citrus forward. Rayhaan Adonis Icarus takes a completely different route by adding neroli and pink pepper into the heart and anchoring the fragrance with a heavy dose of white musk and earthy vetiver. Adonis Icarus trades the airy California ocean breeze for a warmer, denser, and much more masculine woody spicy profile. If you want an incredibly long-lasting summer fragrance that opens with an uplifting blast of orange and dries down to a masculine, spicy vetiver base, this is phenomenal blind buy. Final verdict. After testing all of those Afternoon Swim inspired fragrances, the real question is not just which one smells the absolute closest. The better question is which one actually fits your lifestyle. If you want the most realistic, authentic luxury experience, Montagne Afternoon Dive is the undisputed champion. It gives you that photorealistic citrus blast, keeps the salty, musky character, and stays incredibly close straight through the deep dry down. If you want a very convincing, juicy opening with a great value and do not mind a more linear finish, Bujairami Perfect Life and Bujairami Drip, French Avenue Pinnace Oryn, and Paris Corner North Stag all deliver that bright, mouth-watering vitamin C effect extremely well. They may not all capture the full ambergris depth of the original, but they absolutely dominate their price bracket. If longevity is your biggest concern, Haramain Natural Iris, Lattafa Pisa, and Rayhaan Adonis Icarus are the ones that separate themselves. These are not perfect clones, but they offer a serious staying power and far more presence than the original. Just be prepared for their own respective floral, woody, or spicy twists. Now, if you love the general DNA but want a unique spin, Armaf Odyssey Limoni gives you an aquatic tea direction. ASTEN Luxe Vision Morning Sun and Lucianno Sunset Swim gives you a creamy, tropical coconut milk Sanskrit angle. Grandeur Soaked Sun gives you a fizzy citrus soda effect, and Maison Asrar DXB offers a pristine, modern floral interpretation. And sitting somewhere in the middle is the Maison Alhambra Jean Lowe Azure, which gives you the recognizable profile, but with a much warmer, spicier, ginger-heavy base. This is, by the way, my favorite. There is no single perfect replacement for Louis Vuitton Afternoon Swim. Some of these clones get incredibly close in the opening, some outlast the original by hours. Some take DNA and make it creamier, woodier, muskier, spicier, or more aquatic. But Afternoon Swim is not famous because it is loudest fragrance in the room. It's famous because it captures a feeling. That specific feeling of expensive citrus, salty skin, high summer heat, and effortless luxury. The challenge for every single one of these clones is not just copying the notes. The true challenge is capturing the magic. Whether you want the most realistic luxury style experience, an apologetic performance, an affordable, easy-to-wear summer freshie, this lineup provides a masterpiece for every kind of collector. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. Thank you very much for watching.